Greetings. My name is Letitia Hensley, and I'm the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools Director of Family and Community Engagement. We are excited that you are joining us today and know you will gain great insight from this session. At the conclusion of today's session, please provide feedback so that we can continue to support you with amazing sessions that will be provided throughout the year. Now, without further ado, we'll turn it over to our presenters.
Good morning, CMS families. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, engage with us in our Coffee and Conversation series. We have some great discussions today planned around our student assessments, various instructional resources, and different strategies to continue to support learning at home. For your support today, we do have translations available. On the top right-hand corner of your screen, you should see the captions button that has two C's with a cross through. Please click on this button, and then you can select Show Live Captions in the drop-down and select the language of your choosing as needed. So once again, please select Captions, show live captions in the language of your choosing as needed. Captions are also available in English if closed captioning is needed. We are so excited to engage with you today. For any questions you have during today's presentation, please plan to utilize the Q&A feature on your screen. You should see a Q&A. When you click that button, a text box will appear. Please type any questions. We will monitor them throughout and have Q&A time during each presentation. And additionally, we love to hear from you. Please react and engage with us so we know that the information we share is either meeting your needs. We love to see that new learning and that excitement around some of the information. And lastly, we want to hear from you. We are doing a feedback raffle each month. So please complete the feedback form at the end of today's presentation. I will add it into the Q&A. We want to ensure that these sessions are tailored and meeting your needs. So please provide us feedback on if this met your needs, if there's additional information you would like to share, and we are happy to continue to support you. And at this time, I'm going to invite Ryan Revak to come and share more information around understanding the MVPA benchmark and assessments.
Thank you, Molly. So yes, my name is Ryan Revak, and I am the Director of School Improvement and Data Integration for the Office of Accountability. And I'd like to go over today specifically talking about the MVPA benchmarks to give you some more information around that. And then around how do you interpret the report that goes home, what we call the parent report that goes home. And then to let you know that we are thinking about ways to support your child at home and some things that we're in the process of building. So here is the rest of my team members that work on the school improvement and data integration. So at any time, if you ever have questions, you can email anyone that's on this slide related to the reports that you see that go home, so forth and so on. So again, here's our mission that CMS strives to engage families to support student achievement in the home, in the schools, and in the community, and by supporting families in understanding our balanced assessment system. So I will quickly talk about what is our balanced assessment system. So as you can see from this graphic here, there are 5 different types of assessments that we give here in our district as what we call a balanced assessment system. And the reason we give these different assessments is because each assessment provides different information to either the school and or the teacher to help them understand what it is that a child knows already, maybe, where they're ready to learn, how they're learning within the classroom and what they're mastering within the classroom. And so all of these different assessments provide that type of information that allows a school and a teacher to best support the child during the time that they're with them. So we always start, and you can see our list here with universal screeners. So universal screeners are assessments that provide information around the core, our instructional core within our district, and whether we need to, whether we're already seeing a strong core or whether we need to start thinking about ways to supplement the core to make sure that every student is getting what they need. Currently, right now, some of our universal screeners are iReady and the DIBELS assessment that students take. Diagnostic assessments provide information around very similar to universal screeners, because sometimes universal screeners can provide us with diagnostic information. So therefore, we're also seeing at a very specific level what it is that students know already, and where are they ready to start within their understanding of their learning. Now, most parents are probably familiar with the third one here, which is classroom assessments, the quizzes that students take, the exit tickets that they may take at the end of each lesson, the unit assessments that they might have. All of those obviously are the classroom assessments, and classroom assessments inform the teaching for the teacher in the moment so that they can continue to modify what might need to happen. Now, the one that I'm going to be talking about today and spending more time on is what we call our benchmark assessments. So our benchmark assessments are obviously a larger scale assessment, not something that's given, weekly or even monthly. They're given about every 2 to 3 months, except for when we have like our semester courses, because our semester courses obviously are very short. They only go on for 9 weeks. So theirs is slightly adjusted, but generally speaking, they're spread out and they cover a lot more standards. And so we're comparing how well students are doing in comparison to the standards that have been taught up to that time. And then summative assessments, those are the things that we think about, like our EOGs, our EOCs, the things that are taken at the end of the year that measure how students are doing in relationship to the set criteria that have been set by the state on those assessments. So who takes the MVPA? So the MVPA, or the Master Review Predictive Assessments, they're given in grades 3 through 12 in our district in the subjects of math, reading, and science. Because they're designed to mimic these end of grade and end of course assessments that we have. So that's why those are the grade levels that take them. Now, generally speaking, it's given either 2 or 3 times per year, and that depends on the grade level. Depends on whether it's a year long versus a semester. But those are the amount of assessments that we give for those different pieces. And then again, the assessment measures how well students are learning and mastering content standards. So what we want to dig into to make sure that you have more familiarity around is what we call the individual student report, or the ISR report, that gets sent home to family members so they can understand how the child performed and how we receive data on this one. So we'll dig into that right now. So just a bit of background information, the ISR is generated after the assessment, and it usually takes about 72 hours, as this is a predictive assessment, meaning there are analysts who work on all of the data that are outside vendors after we've taken the assessment, that use lots of correlations to our EOGs and EOCs with all of the data banks that they have, to then say, based off of how well a student has done, here's where we project or predict that they'll do on their end of grade or end of course assessment. And so we expect, and we ask, that all schools send these reports home within 2 weeks after receiving them in their portals. And so you should be receiving it as a paper copy, either with the child's report card if it kind of coincides with that time, or at a separate time. And the only language currently that it is being printed in and available in is in English. So here is the report and what it looks like, right? What it looks like when you receive it. And what we're going to do now is we're going to kind of highlight each of the different parts and what you see in each of those different parts. So the very, very top is giving us the content, meaning you could see here, this is a 4th grade math assessment. It tells you which administration it was given, whether this was the first administration, meaning that would have given at the beginning of the year, second administration, sometime around January or February, and then final administration, if this is a course that takes it 3 times, would be sometimes excuse me, around April or May. So that's where you're seeing at the very top that administration and the content that is being covered. And obviously it'll have the student's name within that piece of information as well. The next portion to the left is going to give you the teacher, the school information, and then to the right is going to talk to you about what are the scores and what do they mean. So for example, here, if you see a 2 anywhere on the report, the 2 is projecting the child not to be proficient in any area. And non-proficient obviously is not passing, as it's a not passing score or not on the EOG or EOC. The 3 is what we call grade level proficient, and so that is a passing score on an EOG and or an EOC. And then you have 4 and 5. 4s and 5s are what we call college and career ready, with either a solid command and or a superior command of that. So those numbers are what you're seeing below for all of the different sections. And so we'll talk about the different sections right now. The first section we'll talk about is what's called the student's overall projection score, meaning looking at the entire assessment in its totality. You would see that this child right here got a 5 minus. Now, each of the levels, the numbers that you might see, have 3 ranges. 5 minus being the lowest of the 5. Then you would see a 5 with nothing attached to it, which is the middle of that 5 range, and then a 5 plus, which would be the highest of that range. Below the overall student projection, you now see it broken down by what was taught and what was assessed, meaning we build our assessments based off of what we've taught within that window of time. And therefore, those are the standards that are being addressed in the assessment. And so we're looking to see how well students are mastering those. And so you can see here from this assessment, 5 different standards were addressed on that first administration. And how is this child doing? So we can see here from this one that the child has a strong command in most of all of the standards that have been addressed. But there's one, what we call OA4, which is known as factor pairs, where the student is definitely not as strong because they scored a 2, which is a non-proficient on that one particular area. To the right, it also talks about the predictive scores around what we call the different DOKs, which stands for depth of knowledge. Now, depth of knowledge has 3 levels. And for your understanding, know that most of the assessments that students take at the end of the year, about 60%, so the majority of the assessment, falls in what we call a depth of knowledge level 2, which requires students to apply their skills and concepts, versus a depth of knowledge level 1, which is just recalling basic facts. So when we think about recalling basic facts or just knowing a definition, that's a depth of knowledge level 1. And so there are some of those types of questions on the end of grade tests and end of course tests, but the majority of them fall within applying their skills. And there are a handful, maybe usually be about 10% or 15%, of what we call depth of knowledge level 3, where students have to have some type of plan of how they're going to attack that problem, versus just going in and just applying their skills to the question. So you could see here, same kind of information. When it came to depth of knowledge level 2 and 3, the child performed really high, so they definitely know how to apply their skills. They definitely know how to build a plan and attack and use that plan to solve a larger scale problem in the depth of knowledge level 3. But the depth of knowledge level 1 gave them a score of 3, which then we would want to dig in deeper to say, well, what kinds of problems were those depth of knowledge level 1s? Might they have also been those factor pairs where the student also scored low in? So it could be something that is a connection piece. And those are the kinds of questions that you would want to ask the teacher so that you can best provide support to your child at home. Excuse me. And then the last part is the scores. So the top score talks about the number of items that were answered correctly by the student. Excuse me. So you can see that 18 questions were answered correctly. The second part talks about how many questions needed to be answered correctly to be proficient on this test, which means scoring a 3, 4, or 5. So 13 questions is what we had, and then what was the difference? So 18 minus 13, the student scored 5. Excuse me. 5 questions better than what was needed to be proficient or a level 3 on this assessment. And we have some upcoming news. So coming soon in the year 25-26, we are as a district developing resources that parents can use after this report comes home for them to be able to support their child. So for example, in that example we just saw, if you notice that your child needed factoring pair support, you would be able to come to this resource, maybe watch a video on what factor pairs mean, so you have an understanding of it, and then have resources to provide for your child for them to keep working on that at home, getting better at it. So that is where we are right now. We're currently building these. We will be sharing our prototypes at the March 18th Parent Family Advisory Council meeting. That's happening at Waddell to get feedback from parents, to see if this is in alignment with what's going to be best suited for your needs. And then the resources will be available starting in the 25-26 year to be able to best support you with providing supports to your child after you receive these assessment results. So I think I'll open it up now for any types of questions.
Ryan, thank you so much for sharing such valuable information with our families today. At this time, we don't have any questions in the Q&A. We will continue to monitor it, and if any questions come forward, we will respond in the Q&A and make sure that it is answered during the next section. Once again, thank you so much for your time today and sharing all of the valuable information about MVPA, the resources that are currently being created, and how to read and understand my parent reports at home. And at this time, we are going to welcome our next presenter from our Student Support Services team. That's going to be focusing on iReady, how to read parent reports, where to find practice, learner profiles, and attendance. So at this time, I'm going to turn over to Ms. Shantilia Guy, Director of MTSS.
So good morning, everyone, and hope all is well. Let me get the screen up real quick. Molly, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, so I'll put it in slideshow. So I am Shantilia Guy, Director of MTSS, and I'm excited to be with you guys again today just to kind of go through reiterating some of our resources that are available for you to support your child at home with when it comes to iReady. Here is our small but mighty team that is supporting across the district in many capacities as it comes to MTSS, iReady, and other factors and supports in the schools. For time's sake, I think we have enough time. So really quickly, what comes to mind when you think about March? So there's a lot of things that are happening when March hits. We've got Mardi Gras, March Madness, Women's History Month, and we also have St. Patrick's Day. So if you want to just drop that in the chat, that'll be great. So I always like to have some little engagement activity to get us started. All right, when it comes to, for me, I think of St. Patrick's and Women's History Month. I do love basketball, but I'm more of an NBA person because my Tar Heels don't do what they need to do sometimes. So that's what I think about when it comes to March. All right, so moving on, we're going to look at parent reports and monitoring student progress at home when it comes to iReady. So as I did last time, I also wanted to make sure that parents had access to kind of really go in on their own in the demo accounts to see what our students actually are doing. So if you look here, I just put some examples from elementary, then a middle here. Elementary, if you want to, I have all of them listed here. But the first one is the assessment, so that you can really see how the students' assessments open up for them and what it looks like. Because one of the things that we also mentioned when it comes to our iReady screening assessment is it's adaptive. Just like we did with MAP last year, it starts out on grade level, and as the students answer questions, it'll either get harder or easier based off of how they respond to the questions to kind of help see where they are when it comes to their performance. And then also there's opportunities for you to look at the instruction. So when it comes to the students having to do personalized instruction in their pathways, this will let you see kind of what types of instructional practice they are doing at home as you are looking and monitoring for their work. So as Ryan had mentioned, and he talked a little bit about MVPA benchmark assessments, when we start with our screeners, whether it's DIBELS or our iReady assessment, these also help now to align to those benchmarks, because now we really get to drill down and see what our students doing and what their gaps are. And so schools are now looking to assign specific standards to lessons that help to support the students with the gaps that they have based off of their assessment. So this is another way in which we're trying to ensure alignment across all of our assessments in the district. So here is how to read your family reports. And so you should have your reports by now. And remember, on the screen, you see the code. Those are sent home by the classroom teacher so that you can go in to your child's login, because you have to use their login to get in to be able to see the family report. Okay, so there's not a separate site or anything that's sent. It's actually through your student's login for iReady. I'm going to open up the report real quick because I want you guys to actually see some of the things that's listed there. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. All right, so when you get the report, it's going to show you, now that we finished with BOY and MOY, it's giving you an idea of the blue bars, their placement level, and then also here is where we're hoping for them to get within their growth level. Okay, so this is how we're looking to see what they're doing when it comes to their results. So you should have access to this so that you'll be able to understand the specific areas, domains in which your students are progressing. So percentiles, meaning we're looking at national norm percentiles and where they're ranking themselves, their placements from the beginning of year, middle of year. So hopefully we're seeing this blue bar increase as they've taken MOY. And the goal is by the time we get to our last one, coming up later this year, that they have made progress and continue to grow within their assessment results, and they're increasing in their percentiles. You also have here the domains, which lets you see what they were tested in for those areas, and then also at what grade level they placed on there. So whether they were on grade level, below grade level, or above grade level. So you'll be able to see those. So again, this gives you just a narrative of how to do that, along with some other resources. Okay. Then the next piece, of course, is you checking in on your child's progress. So this is going to be very important because your students have a personalized instruction pathway that comes along with after they've completed the assessment. And so the My Path is where the time is spent on anywhere that there's an instructional gap. So if they were approaching or below grade level, you'll see lessons in My Path that are going to help to close those gaps, and those are things that they should work on. When you get to teacher assigned lessons could be some things in which they were working on from MVPA, was particular standards, or DIBELS. And so the teacher is saying, well, maybe they need some additional instruction support there. So the teacher may assign an actual lesson for them to work on to help continue to close those gaps in that area. The other piece that you also want to keep check on too is their time on task. And remember, we're looking at demos. So you're looking at their time on task. So recommended is 30 minutes a week for us as the district in both reading and math as they're working in their instructional pathways. The main thing is, although we're spending the time, we want to ensure that they're passing. So passing rate for lessons is 70% or higher. One of the things to note is if a student is not passing, their lesson path will be on pause until the teacher reviews, because we want to ensure our students are having support with areas that they are not meeting expectations in. And so this, of course, lets you see how many lessons they pass in a row. So that's how you are monitoring at home to check their progress to see what they're doing. So that's something we want you to definitely look into as you work with them. And then, of course, this is just a screenshot of what we just shared with you so that you can see how they're doing with their work. Now, one of the things I did want to bring up is some fridge tips. So when we look at the fridge tips, it just basically has you to think of ways in which they can definitely support um, while they're working at home. So always ensure that they have the space, the time, and the focus to really work on these, because it's important, because it does impact if they're completing these lessons impact, we can see that they will have an increase in their growth progress when it comes to their next assessments. Because that means that they're really understanding what they did not know before. One thing also that's important here is helping to keep students motivated. This is just like anytime we're working in the classroom and we have so many things that's going on, keeping them motivated and ensuring that they are doing well, checking their progress, and asking them questions as it relates to their work is very important. And then tracking. So talking about their lessons, checking in at the end of their lessons and reviewing their progress is going to be key. And then ask them, what do they feel like they need to do better on, or what support do they need is also going to help. But the main thing is celebrate their success, because we want them to know that we're proud of the hard work that they're putting in. And especially if they started at a certain level at BOY and they're making progress each time, you can see that within their My Path progress. So definitely celebrate that for them. So that encourages them to keep working harder at what they're doing. And again, this just continues to give you some look fors as you work through those things. Now, this, of course, is a schedule in which you can create that will be helpful as far as when you're working at home, kind of things that you want to do to ensure that they're getting their practice. Please note that sometimes the practice may start in the classroom, and we don't have to spend an entire 30 minutes on one lesson. We also want to make sure that we're not burning our kids out about being on the computer for so much time. So just kind of map out a few minutes a night so they can really work through their lessons at home. Now, this is iReady Supports at Home that the program has provided. So I'm going to open this up for you so you can get that bit.ly or the QR code. But this gives you different things of what to look for, how to do those family data chats. So just like we talked about, looking at their data and what they did and what else could we do to help support. So those data chats will be great for you. Also, some of the resources that I just opened up. But the key thing I did want to make you aware of is when you go to the iReady Family Center, you are able to change the language to what suits you best. And so that way it'll help you with understanding how to read these a little bit better as you get them at home with your child. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to email us at mtssspecialist@cms.k12.nc.us. We will do our best to answer your questions and get back to you, but the main thing is definitely encouraging our students to do their best and always monitor the support that they need as they're working at home. Now, I will turn it over to our next presenter from our division, which is Radha Patel.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Okay, I was going to say, I am so excited to be here to talk to you about our new learner profile tool that we'll be using to guide our students as they're navigating our goal 4, which is the to be enrolled, enlisted, or employed as they graduate high school. And so Naviance is our tool that we're using that is a college, career, and life readiness framework. Our students will go in and do some self-discovery assessments as it relates to their career development planning. They will do college research. They will apply to colleges, do the recommendations and things like that as they get into high school through Naviance, resume building, and also course planner. They will start building their 4-year course plan starting in 8th grade. Our students have already begun this process, so please ask your students about what they're doing in Naviance as it relates to how they're moving forward. So what does our platform look like? So like I said, you can go to the next slide. Our students are using the platform starting in elementary. Our young learners are using what we call Little Naviance. And as you can see, this is the homepage when a student logs in. So even as young as our elementary students are going in and starting to look at different career interests, see the different career pathways that they may be able to choose or want to do. One really neat thing is on our elementary platform, it's set up in a gamified format. So our students are doing different activities. As you can see, they're very animated. The graphics are very colorful, and they're working to go up the ladder. Our students will start as an associate, and at the end of their elementary time in 5th grade, our goal is for them to move up the ladder to become the boss or the manager. And so the more that they engage in the platform, the more exploration that they do, the more they move up the rungs of the ladder. Our secondary platform is set up to be customized based on how the student interacts and what are the different self-discovery assessments that the students take. And so the self-discovery assessments are things like interest inventories, exploring their strengths. What do they like? What do they not like? What type of career pathway do they want to go? On this homepage, you'll see where they're even able to select what are their plans for the future. And based on that, their homepage will be dynamic. So they can choose, right now, I'm undecided, I'm unsure what I want to do. That is an option, which will allow them to explore the different career opportunities based on the different education levels and what experience they're going to need. They can say they want to go to a 2-year, a 4-year. I may want to take a gap year. I want to go to a trade school or do an internship or an apprenticeship before I understand what I really want to do. I may want to go into the military, or I say, hey, I'm going to go straight into the workforce. So depending on what their career pathway is or what they want to do after they graduate high school, they're able to navigate the platform and explore those things. One really neat thing that's in Naviance is an interview base. It's called Road Trip Nation, where our students are able to go in and actually view different interviews from people on all walks of life to kind of get an idea of, hey, this is somebody who's a game designer, or they're a neurosurgeon, or they're a construction worker. What is it that they actually do on a day-to-day basis to get an idea of what they may want to do? So as they are doing all of this career exploration and do I want to go to college? Do I want to work? Do I want to go military? Our students, as I mentioned, are starting the course planning process in Naviance as well. And so what they will do starting in 8th grade, they're able to create a 4-year plan for the courses that they want to take in high school based on what courses are available in the high school that they're going to be going to. So if your student is at a North Mech, the course options, the different career clusters and concentration areas that are offered at North Mech are going to show for them. And so your students right now, if you ask them, they should be going through this process right now, looking at what are the courses that we want to take. Our registration has been complete in PowerSchool. And so now they're going to look to complete out working with you as families to create their planning for what they want to do in high school. We call this a skeleton because each year they're going to go in and revisit and revise the courses that they may want to take based on their interest, based on their ability level. They may have decided to take an on-level course this year. And now we know, okay, this is a class that I like, or I have, I've been getting 80s and 90s in this class. I may need to push myself and take an honors class or an AP or a dual credit. They can plan that out in Naviance. So let's walk through, how are your students actually going to be navigating or walking through the Naviance platform as they start in elementary. So let me introduce you to my student here. This is Melanie. She's interested in going in to college, but is not sure how to get there. Her parents want to support her, but they're also first generation, and so they're unsure how to navigate the process, not sure if they have the money to be able to afford a college that the student may want to go to. So she gets an introduction to Naviance in elementary. She does some, those interest inventories, looks at different careers, and she discovers that her good fit is a career in audio engineering. It looks really interesting to her. So she's going to go in and do a little bit of research in Naviance, looking at different career pathways in audio engineering. What kind of education do I need? How much can I make? What is that job outlook for a career in audio engineering? Do I need to go to college? And if so, what are some colleges that are a good fit for me based on what my current GPA is? If I've taken an SAT or an ACT based on my scores, where do I lie? What is the tuition? And what is the type of college that this is? So she does some career exploration. She meets with her counselor. They talk through what are some potential places that she could go to. She does some college exploration. Do I want to go to a big university or small university? There's a component in Naviance where it's called Supermatch. And so they can filter all the way down to what is the boy to girl ratio at this university. Our students love selecting this one when they're first exploring because they want to see what the boy to girl ratio is at this college to see if this is where we want to go to. Colleges then are even able to set up some virtual visits with students, which is called rep visits through Naviance, to say, can we take a tour of this university? Can we look at what does the admissions process look like? Then we go forward and we're now looking at the financial piece. So in Naviance, also, they can start looking at what are different scholarships that are available. All of the information that is put into Naviance comes straight from the source. So it's not the universities give it to a third party, and then that third party compiles the information and then puts it into Naviance. So it's real-time information. So the information that we receive from the colleges and the universities or the career pathways are coming straight from the source. So as she moves on, she's doing her college planning, she's applying, she's meeting with her counselor to look through what are some updates and deadlines that are coming up. What do I need to do to meet my application deadlines? And then she goes in and we receive the acceptance. So we do realize Melanie is one student who wanted to go to college. So her example is specific to the college application process. But all of our students, as they are meeting whatever pathway that they are choosing, Naviance is helping them navigate this process. So like I said before, one of the biggest things that all of our students are working on starting in 4th and 5th grade this year is doing some self-discovery, taking those assessments, career interest inventories, and then 8th grade, as they plan for high school, they are starting the course planning process. All right. I will now move it on to Allison McKee, who's going to talk about attendance.
Good morning. My name is Allison McKee. I am one of the directors of student wellness and academic support. And I'm going to talk briefly about the importance of attendance. As a district, we have moved to tie all of our academic goals back to our attendance goals as well. So really focusing on getting all of our students to school on a daily basis, making an environment where they are wanting to attend on a regular basis, and also working with our families in order to support regular attendance. And so the link at the bottom of that is just a direct to our attendance information from the CMS website that reminds us about our attendance policies, 3, 6, 10-day letters that are sent as part of a DPI policy, and then some of the reasons that absences would be excused versus unexcused. So one of the areas that we are really measuring currently is chronic absenteeism. Chronic absenteeism in schools refers to any student that is missing 10% or more of school days, really regardless of whether the absence is excused or unexcused. A lot of research shows that when students are missing 10% of instruction, that can lead to difficulty with reading, decreased achievement by the time they get to middle school, and also difficulty with graduating high school. So that 10%, if we are in school for 180 days, that would be missing 18 days a school year. We do start monitoring chronic absenteeism from the beginning of the school year. So for example, after the first 30 days, any of our students that have missed 3 days of instruction would be receiving 3 days letters. We would be making phone calls, potentially meeting with the students and families to help support any reasons why they may be absent, and how we can really make the school an environment where they are willing and attending on a regular basis. So we talked a little bit about chronic absenteeism, but even being absent from school 1 or 2 days a week doesn't really sound like much, but 1 day per week would be about 40 days per year. And over their time in school, students would miss about 2.5 years of instruction. When we get in looking at 2 days per week, we're talking almost 80 days a school year and 5 years of missed instruction over their time in education. And by the time we're at 3 days a week, that is about 120 days a school year and nearly 8 years of missed instruction throughout their educational career. And so we really want to work together with our families. We understand that there are real challenges with attendance. Illness was a big one this year. I think flu A went around like we have never seen before. So we totally understand that there are illnesses, there are issues with transportation and family emergencies and other issues that it can be difficult to get your students to school every day. But we really do want to make sure that we have open communication and are working together to overcome some of these challenges. So being very intentional at home about establishing morning and bedtime routines so that students are well rested and ready to go to school each day. Keeping that open communication with teachers in the school, especially if you have any concerns about why your student struggles to make it to school every day or is reluctant to attend. We want to partner with you all and support you in that. You can reach out to all of our schools have school social workers, so you can reach out to them for any community resources or any other outside needs as well. They are very apt to making referrals. And also encourage and celebrate good attendance habits. That is something that we are doing in many of our schools on a regular basis. You may hear about various rewards for good attendance because that really is a current focus of ours. But also just celebrating it or talking about it at home helps support the importance of regular attendance in school. And so really our students that are attending on a regular basis, we see much better outcomes all throughout, not only just school, but lifetime as well. Our elementary students are typically more apt to be on grade level by 3rd grade for when they start reading EOGs. Our middle school students are passing their important courses and are able to keep moving on through their education. Our high school students are staying on track for graduation and passing their classes. Our college students are more likely to earn their degrees. And attendance in school also has significant outcomes for when our students are entering the workforce, where they are more likely to succeed on their path in their job as well. Thank you, and let us know if you have any questions about any of the pieces that we talked about from Student Support Services today.
Thank you so much to our Student Support Services team. We do have a few questions within our Q&A section that we would like to go over this morning. The first question is for Ms. Chantilia Guy, related to the iReady codes discussed. When should families anticipate receiving those codes for their students from the school?
Yes, so codes were sent out to them for their BOY assessment. It's the same code. If they do not have it, just reach out to the classroom teacher to get that code. But also, if we're sharing this presentation, that should be the code that everyone's getting, and they should be able to get in as well from the slide.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. The slide deck has been shared in the Q&A, but always connecting and collaborating with your teacher is a great suggestion as well. Thank you, Chantillia. The next question in the Q&A is, what test scores are available within PowerSchool for families?
Ryan, I'm gonna also have you come on with that because I'm not sure. I know what we have in
Yes.
Navigator, but I'm not sure about PowerSchool.
Yes. So PowerSchool is all about the grade book. So generally speaking, what is every year the teachers have to set up their grade book where they have different types of assessments like performance assessments, and each one has a different weight to that. And so quizzes might be in there. So you'll see quizzes and they're weighted at a certain weight. You'll also see unit tests that are available in PowerSchool and they have a different weight to them. And so those are the types of assessments that you will see in PowerSchool as the ones that are actually going into the grade book, as that is what's used to build out the report cards at the end of the year. So for example, in our high school courses, you might also see like midterms and final exams as well as a portion of their PowerSchool assessments.
Thank you. That was a great explanation for us. The final question that we have received is, will families have access to Naviance over the summer?
Yes, that's a great question. So the Naviance platform follows your student. And so your student will log in through their Launchpad. So yes, it's available to them throughout their journey through middle and high school on the secondary platform, and then all through elementary on the elementary platform. It is that single sign on. So once they go through their Launchpad, they can just click on the Naviance icon. And so, yes. And so even if your student moves from one school to another, their platform still belongs to them. And so it will still, they still have access to it, even through their 1 or maybe even 2 years after they graduate high school. So yes, they will have access over the summer.
Thank you, Radha. We do have one final question for the MTSS team. How should families access the iReady platform at home? If you can just review that one more time.
Yes, so parents directly do not have a login. You're actually looking at this information through your child's login. So if your child has their login, then they should be still being doing the single sign-on to log in from home. You're looking at the platform through their view, and so you'll be able to check the progress and things from there. So nothing separate from what your child is logging into.
Wonderful. Once again, thank you so much to our student support team for sharing such valuable information surrounding our MTSS processes, the iReady platform, attendance, Naviance. We know that all of these are great supports of our students and their learning. At this time, we are going to move to our next presenters. This will be the elementary learning and teaching team, who is going to be sharing additional student supports at home.
I am so happy to be here. My name is Amanda Smith, and I'm one of the elementary literacy specialists. So during our session today, we're going to just focus on resources that you all can use at home to support your child's early literacy skills based on their DIBELS data. Last time we were together, we spent some time talking about DIBELS, and we're going to kind of continue that talk, but really centering around resources, right? So how can I help my child at home? All right, so we are gonna hit on the DIBELS assessment, review the DIBELS assessment. I want to review the beginning of year data for the district compared to what our end of year goal is. And then understanding the skills and subtests that we focus on in DIBELS can be a little difficult. So we're going to spend some time talking about that and how the tests are weighted. And then we're going to look at the resources that will support students at home. And then we're going to review the end of year benchmark window. So that's what we're going to do today together. So, we looked last time we were together at how Dibbles was administered and how teachers use the data to make instructional decisions, right, for our students. Well, Dibbles is a universal screener, and it is used by schools to assess those early literacy skills. It's a quick research-based assessment that serves as a risk indicator. So this means that it recognizes areas in early literacy skills that may need additional support, and this helps limit any future challenges that students may have with reading. So that's the purpose. And teachers use this data in a variety of ways. The data helps teachers design targeted instruction to meet the specific needs of students, whether it's remediation or they're enriching the instruction and enhancing the instruction. The Dibbles data also helps teachers monitor student progress, like over time. And we do this to make sure that the supports that we're putting in place are working as intended. All right, so that's just a quick overview of Dibbles. So now let's take a look at our goal. Our goal 1, this is our K2 goal, and it's really important. So our goal is to increase the percent of K2 students scoring at or above benchmark in early literacy as measured by Dibbles from 67% to 91% by 2029. So at the end of year last year, we were at 67%. So by 2029, our goal is to be at 91% of our students at benchmark or above. So let's look at where we are now. So let's take a minute just to get acclimated to the chart. You can see here it says BOY in the first column, that's the beginning of year. So in the first column, it's our beginning of year data. So 52% of our overall, our K1 and 2 students at the beginning of the year were at or above benchmark. If you look to the right, our goal for end of year overall is 75%. So that's what we're going after. We're starting at 52%, and we want to have 75% of our students at or above benchmark. If you look down beside on the second row where it says K, that's kindergarten. So at the beginning of the year, 42% of our students were at or above benchmark. And by the end of year, we want 81% of them to be at or above benchmark. If you look at first grade, we were at 55% proficient or at benchmark at the beginning of the year, and we want to be at 76%. In second grade, we're at 57%, and we want to be at 70% by the end of the year. All right, and we can do it. We're so excited that you're here and that you can help us do this important work. Let's take a few minutes just to dig a little more deeply into the different subtests and how they're weighted. So some of the subtests are weighted more heavily than others, and each subtest, like the first one at the top, letter naming fluency, L and F, carries a weight that impacts the overall composite score for each student. So for kindergarten, you can see the weights listed here. You can take a moment and look at the weights. Highlighted in the reddish orange color is nonsense word fluency, correct letter sounds. This is the heaviest weighted subtest in kindergarten. So just take a minute to orient yourself to the weights. All right, let's look at first grade. As you can see, the two highest weighted subtests here are nonsense word fluency, correct letter sounds. That's what we just saw in kindergarten as well. But also oral reading fluency, words are coded correctly. that's like reading the whole word. Those are the two highest. I'll give you a few seconds to review this chart too. Okay, let's look at second grade. So this table shows the second grade subtest and their weights. Like first grade, the heaviest weighted tests are nonsense word fluency, correct letter sounds, and oral reading fluency. Words are coded correctly. I'll let you orient to that. All right, so knowing the weights of the subtests, we have a district focus. So we can see here like which skills students need to practice to increase their DIBEL score, but more importantly, to help them become skilled readers. For kindergarten, students will focus on nonsense word fluency, correct letter sounds, and for this measure, this subtest, they're asked to read a nonsense word. For example, here's one at the bottom of the screen. Knob. So they are expected to say the sounds that go with each letter. So they are expected to say n, a, b. Or they're expected to read the whole word. Knob, right? And so in first and second grade, students will continue to work with nonsense word fluency. But they'll also, first grade will also work on oral reading fluency. And when students are assessed in oral reading fluency, they're expected to read a text accurately and automatically, and fluently, like they are expected to read it like we talk, right? And we know that it's super important for them to read fluently because it helps students comprehend what they're reading. They're not spending so much time trying to sound the words out, and they're able to put a lot of that brain power to actually comprehending the text. So fluent reading is super important. So in kinder, first and second, we are going to focus on nonsense word fluency. And in first and second grade, our focus is oral reading fluency. So now let's look at some resources. Last time that we were together, we shared the M-Class Home Connect resources, and you can certainly go back and use those, but we also wanted to show you some resources that CMS has created that you can request to be sent home by your child's teacher. So for kindergarten, I want to show you a resource that you can use to support nonsense word fluency, or the blending of sounds. Remember that NOB, that knob word? For kindergarten at home, you can use decodable readers, right? Well, a decodable reader is, you can see on the screen, a decodable reader is a simple book designed for beginning readers that primarily contains words they can sound out or blend using the phonics skills they've already learned, meaning most of the words in the book are made up of letter sounds they've been taught, allowing them to decode words by applying their phonics knowledge, right? So that's what a decodable reader is. Here's what it looks like. You can see a lot of these words are simple. I see a cat in a hat. What I just read was not reading fluently. I see a cat in a hat is not fluent reading. I would want to hear them say, I see a cat in a hat, right? So when you're reading at home with your child, you can follow these 3 steps to support your child. So on the first read, let your child read and decode or sound out the words on their own. And then on the second read, you may want to read along with them, right? Because then you're going to be able to model fluent reading. So you can kind of choral read or read it together. And then on the third read, you can let them read the decodable to you again. Each time your child reads the decodable reader, his or her fluency will increase. You should hear an increase in the way that it sounds and also their ability to blend the words. Okay. And with these, your child can revisit this decodable reader as often as he or she would like. All right, so that's one resource. Let's look at another. This resource can be used to support nonsense word fluency as well, and blending. And these are the phonics speed drills. All right, so remember, the goal is for students to read or blend whole words. Like, that's the end goal. We want them blending whole words fluently. This resource, let me show you. This resource is for kindergarten, and also first grade can use this resource. So if you have a kindergartner or a first grader, you're going to want to listen up. For kindergartners, the end of your goal is 31 correct letter sounds. And so as you're thinking about students decoding and sounding out, you want them to become more fluent. Here's some directions for this particular resource. So you can have them read, your child read words like as a practice, and you can support them. You can, the first read, let them struggle a little bit, but then also support them, help them blend and decode the sounds. And then, give them a chance to read it on their own. And then they can reread and you can support again. The cool thing about this resource is that you can say to them, all right, I'm going to set a timer for 1 minute, and I want you to see we're going to see how many words you can read within that minute. And so as a parent, you would set the timer, you would let them read all the words that they can read, and then you would jot down that number. There's a place at the bottom for number of words. So you would jot down the number of words that they read, and then you would keep practicing. And then you can do another timed practice and see if their fluency increased. Did the number of words that they read, did that increase? If so, then we're increasing our fluent reading and our sounding out of words. So that is another resource for kindergarten and for first, right? All right, so let's look at first grade. We just looked at this one because first graders also need practice with nonsense word fluency. So this one is a good one for first grade also. You can note at the bottom on this slide, the goal for first grade to be at benchmark correct letter sounds per minute, or 15 whole words per minute. That's the goal. So as you're doing this work with them, that's what you want to move toward and work toward. All right, let's look at another resource for first grade. So we talked about oral reading fluency, and we talked about fluency means reading smoothly with expression, like you're naturally talking. And you want your child to read the words accurately and at a comfortable pace. And we also want them to read at a pace where they actually understand what they're reading, right? But it takes practice. So you can use these fluency passages. This is what they look like. And for first grade, these passages are about birds because that's what we've been learning about in class. Hopefully, if you have a first grader, you've been hearing all about birds. But you can see here at the bottom, beside the little trophy, there's a goal for first grade. First grade end of year benchmark goal is 39 words. And so you can do the same thing that you did with the timed fluency passages, the phonics speed drills before. You can let them read the passage on their own, time them, write down the number of words that they read correctly. And then you can model fluent reading with them. You can have them read it, and you can give them feedback on words or help them sound it out. And then you can let them reread it and see if their fluency has increased. And once again, you can read and reread this as often as you would like. You can do it once a day, and time them once a day for a week and see how over the week their fluency increases. These passages also have some comprehension questions. So we talked about making sure that they are reading fluently at a comfortable pace, but also understanding what they're reading. So you can ask these questions of them as well, just to check on their comprehension. All right, so let's look at second grade. So second grade resources are the same. We have the nonsense word fluency speed drills. But for second grade, the goal is 76 correct letter sounds per minute or 22 whole words. Okay, so that's what we're working towards for nonsense word fluency in second grade. And then they also have access to the oral reading fluency passages, but you can see down here near the trophy that for second grade, our end of year goal is 94 words. Okay, so that's where we're headed this way. For the end of the year. That's where we need to be for the end of the year. So I hope that that you all will be able to use these resources well, and that your student will enjoy using them too. Our end of the year testing window for DIBELS is May 8th through 29th. So you may just want to jot that down. Typically, students are tested on one subtest per day, very minimal, but it's not like they're going to sit down and get tested on all the subtests at one time. And so that's why the window is a little longer. So May 8th through May 29th, we'll be doing DIBELS testing. And just a reminder that you can find those DIBELS resources on the families page on the CMS website. And so you'll click on the Learning and Technology Resources for Families, and it'll take you to this page. All right. One more thing that I meant to say that I did not is that those resources that we just shared, you could look for them to come home digitally, like in Parent Square, or uploaded to something maybe in Google Drive, or you could see them maybe coming home like in print. So reach out to your child's teacher and let them know that you would like to have some of the phonics speed drills resources or the oral reading fluency passages to help your child at home. All right. Thank you for your time, and let me know what questions you might have.
Thank you so much, Amanda, for sharing such great information and resources. I know that what was outlined will be very beneficial to supporting our families with supporting their students at home. The one question that we currently have in the Q&A is there a direct link to the speed drills that families can use so they can go ahead and pull the resources without reaching out to the school?
Not at this time, there's not. We can look into it, but at this time, it would just be a request to the teacher.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for making us aware of that answer. Families, thank you for your engagement today, for taking the time to join us and learn more about all of these great assessments. We've had some fabulous discussions around different assessments, instructional resources, strategies to support at home, and just how we are going to continue to work towards the end of the school year. As shared, we do value your feedback. We want to ensure that our Family Academy sessions are meeting your needs and are addressing any areas or topics that you would like to learn more about. Please provide feedback to today's session. All feedback will be entered into a raffle for our $100 gift card for the month of March. Last month in February, our winner came out of the North World Language Academy, Academy of World Languages, and we were just so excited to share and receive that feedback. So we cannot wait to see who our lucky winner of March is. So once again, thank you for your time today. We hope everyone has a terrific Thursday, and we look forward to seeing you at our April Coffee and Conversations. Have a great day.